This 2003 zinc yellow Mustang Mach 1 did not sell at $34,000, which is as high as the bidding got when the reserve was not met when the auction ended. This car should have brought over $50,000 easily in the condition it's in, being a 17-mile car. This is what you would call a wrapper car, so it's as if it was brand new. It still has a lot of the things on it, like the window sticker and the plastic on the seats and things like that. Now, it isn't completely like it would have been from the factory with the plastic on the bumpers and the mirrors and places where they did put foam and plastic for shipping, but it is definitely still considered a wrapper car. And this one would have probably less miles than what a lot of Mach 1s were sold with new, as people would have test driven them, or the dealers would drive them around a little bit, or dealer transfer, dealer trade them. But it does have these really cool stickers on the window. I really like seeing these barcodes and stuff. That's really nice to see. I really like going to a car dealership today and seeing the new ones come in off the truck and they have all these little stickers and decals on them. And so essentially what you're getting here is a brand new Mach 1 from 2003 as a time capsule. Of course, people do argue that a car like this will never be driven. Most likely it will be preserved as an example of what they were like new, and that's okay. There are plenty of them out there to drive around. It's nice to see some of them in totally new form, and if you feel like you missed out on an '03 Mach 1, this is a chance to buy one brand new. Of course, people are going to argue and say that driving it around, you'll have seals in the engine or the rear end or the brake lines that are dry rotted from not being used, and they might start leaking profusely. You'll park the car and have a puddle under it. People do say that. I'm not sure if that's entirely true. I think this car could probably be driven around a little bit, but I don't think you'd want to drive this car around because it is such a good example as a show quality museum piece. And that is an argument that's been debated over and over and over again. But I think this car deserves to stay the way it is and let it be seen as a museum piece. Obviously, it wasn't driven. And like I said, there are others to be driven. Now, I was thinking a lot when I looked through the pictures of this car, and I was thinking about how happy I am that I have one exactly like it, same car. It would have had everything identical to this car, almost. We'll get into that in a second here. But basically the same car, and I've been able to drive and enjoy mine and even get caught in the rain in it once in a while. It's no big deal. It's a daily driver. And seeing this one in perfect shape makes me actually happy to know that mine is one that I can drive around and feel good about driving. And when you see one like this that is so desirable and so brand new and perfect, it also makes me enjoy mine, thinking that I have a car that was exactly the same car but now a little bit used, but I get to enjoy it, so I'm happy about that. So here's the side scoops, the stripes faded on the back. That's the way they're supposed to be on the Mach 1. I've always liked that about how zinc yellow shows that off, and white definitely shows that off a lot. Shaker hood and stripe, everything looks really good on that. The top of the stripe looked a little disfigured, but I think it's just the camera. Mach 1 grill delete and the chin spoiler headlights look fantastic, as they should. This car is brand new. It has 17 miles on it, so I doubt there's a rock chip or a problem on this car anywhere. Although when I did look inside the car, I did notice in the cup holder, it looked like there was a little bottle of zinc yellow touch-up paint, if that's what that is. So something to think about and consider, although it's not that big of a deal. But anyway, back to the front of the car, you have nice fog lights here, good close-up pictures of everything, and just a beautiful new car. Tail lights look fantastic, both driver's side and passenger side. You can see the exhaust tips, and somebody had mentioned recently in one of the comments that the Bullet and the Mach 1 do have the same tips, but the Mach 1s were polished a little more, so I thought that was kind of cool. There's the gas door. Everything looking good. I think it's actually interesting that this sticker here that's on the inside of the fuel door, it actually says the VIN number on the very top. 415823 is actually the last of the VIN number. And I think it's neat that they have that set up accordingly, because this has the tire size of 245/45ZR17. And if it was a Cobra, it would be 275. Or if it was a V6, it would have been a narrower tire, like a 215 or a 225. And so That's kind of cool. That's specific to the car. It's not technically specific to the Mach 1 because the GT and the Mach 1 shared that same tire size and rating, and the actual ZR17, everything on that matches a GT. But it is cool to see that it has the VIN number on there and everything. And so some people will take these fuel doors off and put a bullet one or an aftermarket one on there. But if they do that, they're actually losing a small piece of documentation to the car, because there is a sticker that was Ford produced that has part of the VIN number on it that matches. So kind of cool to think about. Here are the pony fender badges. These would be the same that would be found on a V6 Mustang. The '03 Mach 1s had these, and then the '04 Mach 1s had the 40th anniversary badge. Here's the Mach 1 lettering on the back, looks great. Here are all the wheels, and they're in fantastic shape, of course. Interesting to look at and notice that they actually have a tire weight on them that's been hit on with the hammer. It's not the sticker weights that go on the inside of the wheel. So there on the top, you can see that, and that's how Ford did that. So that's something that documents this car. Now, of course, these wheels could have been balanced at some point over the last 20 years, and maybe they were rebalanced, but it's not likely. I've actually heard of people who will remove those weights from the wheels on collector cars because they don't want them to ruin the clear coat on the wheel that's right underneath the weight. If there's dirt or brake dust or something trapped underneath there, they'll want to remove that and clean it. But it is interesting to see it that way. But here you can see the Goodyear Eagle tires. It's pretty cool to see those on the car. That's something that I look at when I see low mileage Mach 1s for sale that are on the original tires. Now, are they safe to drive on? Technically, no. They should be replaced every 6 years or so. But obviously this car's been climate control, stored, and taken care of, so I don't think they'd be an issue. Now, looking at the interior, really cool to see the plastic on the steering wheel and on the seats, on the floor mats. So pretty cool to see the steering wheel with the tag on it there and the wrapper still around it, just like brand new. Here's the passenger seat, still has the big long barcode on the side. That's really cool to see. Back seat's looking great. I don't know if the dealership left the seat belts like that. I've seen people store cars like that, but I don't know if that's how they came or if the owner did that, but that looks pretty cool. This is where it gets interesting. I was looking at the floor mats and I was looking at the pedals and I thought, wait a second, this is a non-interior upgrade package car. Looking at the seats and covers, it's hard to notice that the headrests are the smaller ones, and with all the plastic around the steering wheel and everything, it makes it really easy to miss that it did not have the interior upgrade package silver trim around the radio. And so we'll look at that here, but these pedals are just stock style pedals as opposed to the interior upgrade package pedals like these. You can see there's quite a difference. These were in the Bullet, the Mach 1s, and the Cobras, but they were only an option in the Mach 1. They were standard in the Bullet and the '03, '04 Cobra. Here are the seats, looking really nice, still in the plastic. Can't really see much of them in the floor mats. If you look on the seat, there's just at the very bottom of the picture, you can tell there's a little tag that would usually be hanging on the glove box, and there's like, airbag safety sheet, I believe is what that is, a little pamphlet and stuff. So luckily that stuff is still there and it's on the seat. Luckily every piece of documentation seems to have stayed with the car. That's stuff that I would want to make sure stayed with the car. I like that there's little paper or plastic there on the door pulls. That's very interesting. In the top corner on each side, I haven't seen that before. As well as the plastic on the bottom of the door there by the speaker, where it would be common for someone at the dealership getting in and out of the car, moving it around, could scuff the door panel there. So it's nice that that plastic is still there. Here is the barcode on the covers on the seats, and it looks like it says April 4th on it. There's a date there, which is interesting. I'll show you why later. See the little plastic or paper on the door pulls there again. Here's the odometer with 17.5 miles on it. Looks really cool like that. And see, here's the trim around the radio. Notice how it's not silver like this. This would be the interior upgrade package trim around the radio. It still does have the aluminum ball shifter. And it is actually missing the little sticker that goes on the lens of the radio that says do not remove. It says something about like owner must remove this piece or something, and so that is missing off the car. Hopefully it's in the car somewhere, but probably not. but it does not have that silver painted area, nor the door soldiers, which are silver, and the things that were included, like the larger headrests that the seats would have if it was an interior upgrade package car. Now, looking at this, it doesn't look bad. I think that looks really good. As a matter of fact, 2 out of the 4 Mach 1s I've owned were non-interior upgrade package cars. And none of the Cobras or the Bullet had that option, so this is what it would look like in a Terminator Cobra or a Bullet Mustang, minus the bezel ring around the shifter for the Bullet, and the bag would be different type of leather for the 0304 Cobra. So this does raise the question of rarity. Is it a good thing that this car does not have the interior upgrade package? Some would say yes, because it makes the car more rare. There were 9,652 Mach 1s made in 2003. And if we start breaking down the numbers, there were 7,709 manual cars, which this is one of those. But out of the zinc yellow cars, there were only 869 produced, and of those, only 720 were manual, so we're getting more on the rare side there. Yet the non-interior upgrade package cars that were zinc yellow, such as this car, makes this 1 out of 99 cars built. And that's zinc yellow Mach 1s, and that does not include the difference between automatic and manual. So out of the zinc yellow Mach 1 cars that did not have the interior upgrade package, there were probably very few that were automatic with that option. There were probably more manual cars that did not have the interior upgrade package. But roughly, you could probably break this car down to around 1 of 50 or so that's built in these exact specifications. Now, looking back at the interior, you can see it has the nice bezels there, the stock 6-disc radio, which all Mach 1s came with. They all came with the Mach 460 audio system. But if you look closely, there's something I noticed, and that is the power outlet plug for the cigarette lighter. I have never seen one like this before in any New Edge Mustang from 99 to 04. I've never seen one that looked just like that. Usually the plug outlet covers that are in these look like this. They're more of a straight shot, grab on each side of it with a thumb and finger pull out type. And so I haven't seen the other style before. Now looking around, you can see some of the newer Ford products came with one like this that had the little lips on the side, and the back was just a plug. It's just to cover the cigarette lighter outlet, and you can see on the side there's little grips to pull those out, and that's kind of what this one looks like. Very hard to see in the picture. It looks like maybe it has one corner tab that lifts up like that. But I've never seen one like this before, ever, in a 99 to 04. So if you have a New Edge Mustang, or if you, even better, purchased one new and had this, I'd like to hear that in the comments, because I've never seen this before. I've had the other style ones, and I've been lucky that a few of my Mach 1s have come with those, and my other cars as well have still had the 12-volt plug thing, because I think that's kind of cool looking, and that's something that gets lost very easily because people pull it out, put it in the center console, drop it on the floor, maybe it goes between the seats, you know, they back it out of the car and it's gone forever or something like that. But I thought that was kind of cool to see, especially a car that only has 17 miles on it. What are the odds that that's been changed? Very, very low odds, because people haven't probably sat in this car very much. They probably haven't been inside the car very much. I mean, maybe somebody likes to go out like I do with my cars occasionally and just sit in them and enjoy the new car smell, but this car has not been used like a normal car, so I find it very interesting to see that plug out there. And I would find it very interesting to know whether the owner added that or not. Maybe they lost the cigarette lighter and they just put that in there. I don't know. I think that's kind of cool, and if you know the answer, let me know. Now, if you look inside the center console, it does have something very important, and that is the anti-theft key for the wheels. Whenever you look for a car used, you should probably make sure that it has that to get the lug nuts off if you have to, although there are other ways of getting them off if you really have to, but it is cool to see that that is there in the center console. So here's the engine. Looks beautiful, all stock. The battery might have been changed, but other than that, it looks very nice. This would be an earlier 03 engine, so it would have the 4-thread cylinder head, spark plug holes. Not a big deal, especially with a car like this with 17 miles. That's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just when people over torque them and mess up the threads. But I have a zinc yellow Mach 1 that was made in June or so, and it still has the 4-thread heads, yet my 03 blue Mach 1 was made in late July, and it has the 9-thread heads. So I would assume that this car still has the 4-thread heads, seeing that this car was built in April or so. And so this is April 2003. The very early Mach 1s and Cobras that were built in September of 2002 or so, those engines were more likely to have the need for the recall for the valve guides, and they were also 4-thread heads, and they didn't have the revised cooling passages inside, and so it's really not a big deal, but that is something to consider. This is a later 4-thread head car, and that's just fine, especially for this case. And I don't think that changed the value on this car in any way, shape, or form. As a matter of fact, I believe most people bidding on this car probably have no idea that there is a difference in cylinder heads in the years or the late 03s. I think most people looking to bid on this car were doing it as an investment, as a very super low mile car, and in that case it really doesn't matter because the car probably won't ever be driven. The other issues that arise with the lesser desirable heads are from cars that have lots of miles on them, lots of heating issues, maybe a fact of it overheating at some point, spitting out spark plugs. I've seen 4-thread engines that have helicoils or time cert repairs done on every spark plug hole on the engine. So, it can be common, and they should be torqued down to spec. Over tightening them does strip them out, or sometimes if they come loose over time, they can get spit out from the cylinder pressure. But anyway, not a big deal, especially on this car. I don't think that would change the value of this car at all, and I think the investors looking to buy this car would not have probably even known that. If you look at the valve covers, you'll notice they are painted black, and that is correct for 2003. 2004, they had magnesium valve covers, or they're kind of like a raw aluminum look, and that was only to save money, and they kind of stain and look ugly over the years. So the black ones are actually more desirable for 03. That's a good plus for the 03s. Now, as far as the 04s having the gray ones, the Cobras did get powder-coated silver ones that look like the gray ones, but they are actually powder-coated and nice, and they don't stain. And that was the same on all of the 99 to 04 Cobras, and even the 96 to 98 Cobras, I believe, as well. Shaker looks really good underneath. All of the pieces are there. It's clean. The hood blanket looks very nice. So that just looks fantastic. Of course, the car's hardly been driven. Underneath looks fantastic. This looks brand new, which it is. You can see there's still chalk marks on the K-member. Lots of paper tags and things underneath here. The unibody looks very clean. The exhaust looks good. It looks like the driver's side cat has a little more color change. I've seen that on lower mile cars. It just must be the way they are. If you do look closely on the side skirt, there is a little bit of splatter under there, like they drove through a puddle or maybe even the rain when the car was first new. But if you look closely towards the front by the fan there, you can see the nice paper tag hanging with the Ford logo on it. That's pretty cool to see that on the brake lines. Looking underneath the car is almost as fun as looking on top because of how fresh and new and clean it is. Something that really stood out to me was the bare metal on the axle tubes not having any surface rust. If you look at those, you can even see some yellow paint marks on it. I've never seen a bare axle like that before. I've seen super low mile cars like this before, and they all had some surface rust on them, like the dog bone underneath the axle you can see there, that dampener. That is just normal bare surface rust that is on these parts, brand new from the factory, and usually the axles look like that, but these axle tubes look almost silver because they don't have any rust on them. I've never seen one like that, even on super low mile cars. It's not a bad thing when they rust over, it's just surface rust, it's the way they're made, they're bare metal, but I've never seen one like this before. And so that's cool. You can see the yellow paint marks on it. You can see the barcode on the axle. You can see the diff cover has some markings on it and some paint pen and stuff. It looks really cool. Love seeing how that looks. There's the orange on the bottom of the differential as well. And something that a lot of Mach 1s don't have anymore are the factory mufflers, and those are very neat looking, and they're specific to the Mach 1, and you can even see the part numbers on there, so that's pretty cool to see that. Of course, this would not have been changed, but it's cool to see because there are very few Mach 1s that retained that. All 4 Mach 1s I've owned did not have the factory exhaust on them when I bought them. If you look at those black bars next to the exhaust, those are the frame rail connectors or subframe connectors, and those were standard on the Mach 1s, they were standard on the Bullitt Mustangs, and they were standard on the convertible Mustangs for rigidity. But funny enough, they were not standard on the 0304 Cobras, which you would think that they would be more needed on those cars, making 390 horsepower from the factory. Now you can see around the axle there where the exhaust bends, the frame rails look very clean, not dirty at all. You can see the Takiko struts there that were Mach 1 specific for the year. There are just lots of nice clean pieces everywhere. Just seeing everything brand new and never really used. It looks so nice underneath here. The suspension looks very clean. The tires are clean. Everything on this car is clean. The bushings for the sway bar, everything is just fantastic and new. The tires, and underneath here you can see the power steering cooler. Everything's straight, no bends in the AC condenser. Everything looking fantastic with paper tags everywhere, and the hardware is clean. And if you go under here and look, this is in the door jamb. This is the barcode of the sticker with the VIN number. It has the R in the VIN for Mach 1. It has the invoice date of 4 of 03, so that's April of 03. Window sticker looks really good, and something funny about this window sticker that I noticed was when I compared it to the window sticker I have from my Zinc Yellow Mach 1, which was made in June, there is a $25 increase on my Mach 1 compared to this Mach 1, and that is not the interior upgrade package. It is the MSRP base price of the vehicle did have a $25 difference. So somewhere down the line, Ford raised the price of Mach 1s in 2003 within those months. Now if you look at the standard vehicle price and the optional equipment, there is no interior upgrade package listed there, so this proves this is one of the 99 Zinc Yellow Mach 1s made without the interior upgrade package. And if you look at the bottom left of the window sticker, it shows that the car was sent new to Virginia, and that matches the Carfax. And when you look at the lower right numbers there on the window sticker, it has digits of 03, 28, 03, so it looks like March 28th or so of 2003. That would be the paperwork starting for this car, the invoice when the window sticker was created. The actual build date is very close to that, but that's something interesting that I like to look at. And this is a certificate that did not come with the Mach 1 when it was new, but it could be ordered by Ford Performance Group and Ford Show Parts. And so if you're looking at this, it's pretty neat. It shows the VIN number, and it shows that it was assembled on April 8th of 2003. And that's pretty cool. We'll look at some more stickers and things that show a little bit of a difference there, and that's the actual build date of the car, even though the parts were obviously manufactured a little bit earlier than that. And it shows that this one is number 3599 out of 9,652, which we talked about earlier. That's total Mach 1s made for 2003, and it does verify that this is one of 869 Zinc Yellow Mach 1s. Now it doesn't break down any further than that, it's just showing that. So it's pretty cool to have that certificate. That's a very nice thing to have with the car, and one of the owners had to have purchased that after the car was made. And so here you see the April 8 build date, and then underneath the car the paper tags are still on there, the stickers underneath the bumper. That's really cool to see. This shows April 4th of 2003, so very close to the build date of the car. I'm sure that's how they have to do it, about a week worth of parts beforehand being built, and I'm sure other parts take longer to produce and such, but it's just cool to see that. And I believe the bumpers on the car are painted elsewhere, and then they're brought over and put on the car. If that's correct, then that would make sense why there's a sticker here showing it's zinc yellow and it has the build date of, or the paint date for this. And so that's pretty cool to see. That's the back bumper. I believe that's what the RR's rear bumper on that sticker. And if you look at this one, it is the front bumper cover, and you can see it says front bumper Mach zinc yellow as well, and it was also 4 of 4 of 2003, so April 4th 2003. So pretty cool to see those stickers. I love seeing stuff like this. Here's another cool sticker on the front windshield, and it says 8, and I believe that sticker could have been used for any of those months, and we know the car was built on the 8th of April, so I assume that's what that's about. That's pretty cool. I wish everybody who bought one of these cars new would have peeled that off and kept it, or the dealer would have put it in the owner's manual or something. Little E35, not sure what that means. Pretty cool to see though. In the trunk you have the antenna, and you have a bunch of paperwork. It's actually interesting that the antenna is silver, because usually on the 03s they were black, and then 04s got the silver antenna. And that could be a whole supply thing. Just something interesting to see, something that I noticed because the '03 cars I've had all had black antennas, and then '04 had silver, just like the key cylinder on the side of the car was black in '03, but then they changed that to silver in 2004. Here's some of the books and maintenance guides that would have come with the car. You can see the owner's manual booklet underneath there, the black zip-up binder. It's hard to see underneath those things, but it's there. There's a CD-ROM for a quick reference guide and scheduled maintenance and other little booklets there. You can see the dealership license plate frames in the trunk where they belong. I'm glad that they didn't drill holes in the front bumper and put those on the car. A lot of original owners did not have the choice whether that was done or not. The dealerships got the cars in and they instantly drilled holes in the front bumper and put those license plate frames on with the dealership paper on it or something like that, or put the tags on without asking the owner about it or whatever. So this was nice. I believe this car was a non-dealer prep car. It was probably received and never touched that way. So I like that. I think it's neat, although I understand that not everybody had the choice. And a lot of states require the front license plate to be on the car, and so it was done in common practice. Here in the trunk there's also the jacking instructions, which I usually find underneath the carpeting or down underneath the spare tire, so it's interesting it's up top. Not sure if the original owner to the car got that out and put it up top, or if that's the way it was in the vehicle when it was purchased. And you notice that there's a extra key fob to the car, and in the listing it says includes 2 key fobs, but it didn't say 2 keys. I believe every Mustang made came with 2 keys and 2 key fobs, so I don't know if it's missing one of the keys, if it only came with 1 key but the 2 fobs, so I thought that was interesting in the listing. Just under the hood stickers are all there, looking perfect like they should be. This was the documentation that was on the driver's side in the window that talks about the bumpers rated for a 5-mile-an-hour impact, and kind of cool to see that paperwork because on the bottom shows parts and things, shows it was made in Dearborn and parts like the transmission from Mexico, but it also has the VIN number on it. So that's a VIN number specific piece of documentation that I like to see stayed with the car. Here's another shot of all the stuff that was in the trunk all together. And then on the windshield it did have some other stickers on there, and I believe these are from a different sale at a different auction. It does show that there were 2 owners to this Mach 1, and in this little sticker it says, it's hard to make out, but it says 2003 Mustang Mach 1 fully documented with only 11 actual miles, so it's been driven 6 more miles since then, which is fine. I'm sure to transport the car around and stuff is fine, but that's a pretty big difference when the car only had 11 miles on it and now it has 17. That's almost double the mileage. And I know that's getting picky, but this is a wrapper car and people get really upset when they see cars that have 5.5 miles on them. For example, there was a red '03 Cobra that did, and a guy drove it down the street when he moved, and now it had 6.5 miles on it. He went a mile in the car, and everybody was making comments about that. Still, lowest mile, one of the lowest mile cars around, but I guess that took it away from the status of the lowest mile, because the lowest mile cars that I've seen had about 5.5 miles on them. I'm not sure if that's what Ford drives them around when they are manufactured and what it takes just to get them onto the dealership lot or not. But anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. So this does show that the car had 11 actual miles on it before. And then it continues to say 100% original, still has all dealer plastic on car, which I don't really agree with because it doesn't have the plastic for shipping that would have been on the hood and the front bumpers and stuff. But still, basically that's what it's saying. Kept in a climate control since new, mint condition. So that's what the sticker says. Kind of hard to make out and read what it says. And so I did take the liberty to also get the Carfax information, and it shows no accidents or damage, 2 service history records, which would be like oil changes and stuff, and 2 previous owners. And what's interesting about that is it shows that the first owner had 11 years and 10 months, and it was registered as a corporate vehicle. So that could be somebody buying the car as an investment. Maybe it's under their business name. Not sure how that is, but it is interesting. It says corporate vehicle, and then the second owner says personal for 7 years and 10 months. And it was first purchased in Virginia, and then it went to South Carolina. But it does show that the odometer reading was 3 miles when it was brand new, so not the 5.5 like I was saying the other Cobra had. Not sure if that's just a standard thing to put on it or if that was actually 3 miles, and then it shows the 17 for the second owner. Everything else comes back all green on the Carfax report, obviously no issues. There was a 64-mile competition orange Mach 1 that was for sale once, and the owner had driven it home, and that's the only miles the car ever had on it. But it also had the hood repainted already because it was damaged when it got to the dealership, maybe on the truck. The hood got hit and it had to be repainted. And so that didn't show up on the Carfax, but that was something that the car did not have the original paint on it on the hood. So that's something kind of fun to look at and interesting, but the Carfax doesn't always pick up little things like that, especially if the dealership did it and it wasn't claimed on insurance or anything. But this car is all in the green, everything looks good. But it's fun to look at the Carfax here and look at the very first thing on there of April 9th, which is one day after the build date of the car. Carfax shows the car vehicle manufactured and shipped to original dealership. So there is a one-day discrepancy there from what the actual build date of the car is. So I think that's kind of neat to look at. Then it shows mileage of 3, went to Virginia, titled and registered. And it does show that that was a month after it was made that it was registered. And maybe that's just how long it took them to go down and register it. But I would assume this car came in and it was non-dealer prepped and taken home. But that is a month difference there with the 3 miles on it. So not sure if it sat in transit somewhere or how long it took to get it there. And then in August of 2004, it shows the first vehicle history service, and it shows the electrical system checked. So maybe a dead battery because it's been sitting for more than a year and the mileage really hasn't changed. It didn't show an update on the mileage there or anything, but we know the car had less than 17 miles on it at this point, so pretty cool to see. And then owner 2 shows that the car went to South Carolina and it had 17 miles on it. And I thought it was interesting that it shows that there was a loan or a lien reported on the vehicle at that point. So somebody financed this vehicle when they bought it. And then later in 2020, 5 years later, it shows that the title issued or updated, which says loan or lien released. And so the car was paid off 5 years later. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then it shows a year after that that it was serviced and the alignment checked and the tires checked. So pretty cool to see all this documentation. Too bad the bidding stalled out at $34,000 and that it didn't go any higher. The reserve was not met and it should not have been met. This is definitely a higher dollar car, one of the lowest mile Mach 1s out there. It's still considered a wrapper vehicle. Very, very cool. I love this car. Makes me proud to own the one I have and even the zinc yellow GT that I have as well. And so these Mach 1s are really cool. Shaker hood cars, matte black stripes, matte black spoiler, heritage wheels, so many neat things. C-pillars and glass, comfort weave leather seats to look like the original Mach 1s, gauges that were specific, the letter R in the VIN number that distinguishes it as a Mach 1 for 2003, which they carried over from the older big block cars. I mean, there's so much about the Mach 1 that makes it special, so really cool to see one like this. And going for decent money, even though the reserve wasn't met. I mean, this is over the sticker price of it new. Obviously, counting inflation, this is not as much as it cost to buy the car back in 2003 in today's money, but still cool to see, and I think this car is definitely worth collecting and worth it to somebody to buy the car at some point if it ever goes for sale again. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more Mustang content.